We used to struggle with customers' item size and weights and the cost for inaccurate estimates. And we also ultimately had to cancel some jobs. It was when we found LiveSwitch Contact. Their video tool for quoting changed everything. We saved $5,000 in the first month alone. And our only regret is we didn't try them sooner. All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Mornings with Movers. Had a lot of technical glitches. We're like 12 minutes into the hour now. I'm sorry. But we are here. We are here. I'm Dwight Mack with Max Moving Training. We got Corey with Get a Fix It Pal in the building.
That's right.
And we're gonna turn it up. Later or not, we're gonna make it happen today so y'all can get those gems. What up, Corey?
What's up, Matt? What's going on?
Another day, another day. If it ain't one thing, it's another. That's what they say. That's why they say you gotta be prepared.
Always.
But no, yeah, no, we was just talking prior to the episode and stuff like that. And the main thing of the theme of this episode, we're gonna just talk about being sold or are you selling? And but before we go into that, me and Corey was kind of like just briefly just talking behind the scenes and talking about like, how you guys may have like a fuel surcharge or a travel fee or so like that.
Yep.
But what if you're getting all your leads like outside of your local radius, like 60 miles, 70 miles away, or whatever the case is? Um, how do you kind of adjust for that? In a sense where it makes sense that it don't hurt your within 50-mile customers, but it makes sense that it benefits the customers that's further away.
Yeah. That's a challenge because if you are getting jobs further out and they are consistent and, that travel fee is minute and they're paying for it, you'll bypass those local customers because, you're making more. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. So, prime example, like in New York State, your travel fee is a correlated with your hourly rate.
Hmm.
So if a customer is like, say, 60 miles away, you might be charging that customer an hour and a half just to get there.
Yeah.
For travel
Hmm.
fee, it may not take you an hour and a half, but you're going to charge the customer an hour and a half. And then oh
Yeah.
snap, you got to come back. So now you got to charge the customer 3 hours.
Yeah. And maybe you don't have a job on the way back. So, you think about that, you know, every day you're doing that or you're getting those jobs far out, are you making that profit margin? Because we have a lot of moving companies that are further out from Raleigh, which is like the capital of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So those, we know folks that drive into town for an hour just to do a couple hours of work and then go back home. So yeah, if those jobs are further out and it makes sense and that's where the bacon is at, that's kind of where you got to go. But to your point, if you're in a major area, those jobs, smaller jobs should be lined up back to back to back so you can, make better profit margins. But again, like you said, if you're making larger money on the further out jobs and it's just drive time, how do you balance that? Where's the ratio at?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
because mhm.
no, go ahead.
Yeah. Now I was going to say, like when we started out, we would try to fit as many jobs in a day. So you might have some jobs that are further out, that are closer. But like you said, you can do two jobs further out, and you can make some money on the mileage. That makes a little more sense than having to pile up two and three and four jobs because you put more wear and tear on the your equipment. Just have more going on versus just a smooth drive here, back in town, and knock it out that way.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's
Yeah.
one of those things where it's just like
Look at the
it's
numbers will
almost
tell you.
yeah, it's almost like these lead providers. They tell you like, oh yeah, all your local range is the whole state of wherever you are. So prime example for
Yeah,
me, it'd be like, oh, all local moves are all of New York State, and it's like,
yeah,
no, the hell is not.
no,
Like,
yeah. But then you got to think they're not getting that granular, that targeted it. So it's kind of like you're at their mercy of what they give you.
and that's why you got to measure the ROI, guys.
Yeah, yep,
Because Florida, for example, huge state.
yeah.
Take you maybe a few days to get from one area to another area.
And that's just traffic.
Hmm So it's just to imagine like, and I was in what do you call it? I guess the east coast side of Florida.
Uh,
So with that being said, just to get over to far east side to get over to like Tampa or wherever
right.
the case was, it was like 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Even on vacation, I mean, just trying to move around down there. Been to Miami several times, and we actually rented a car the first time we went down, and I was like, nope, never doing that again. Never. So, I
Why?
mean,
Why
just
not?
imagine. I mean, traffic was, I mean, bro, it was, we spent more time in the car than you do at your whatever the event you were going to, and
Okay,
like
I'm about
trying
to
to
say
catch
you're
it.
around Raleigh. You got traffic.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about in Miami, but yeah, Raleigh's fine. Raleigh's not that bad. But yeah, Miami, like renting a car, just Uber.
Yeah. Hey everybody, my name is Dwight Mack with Max Moving Training. So we're gonna be doing a move and a pack today. But before we go in, there's just 10 basic rules that we just need to know before participating with this service. So number one, understand moving is a very, very stressful thing. The customer, they're uplifting their life from one location to another. They're having to call all these vendors and get all these suppliers in place so that basically they can make that transition. So their stress level is at the highest right now. We need to be a service provider that comes in and basically keep that stress level mitigated or very low. Come in as professionals and do our job the way we know how to do our job so that this customer is less stress during that move process. Number two, be on time. First impression is everything. You guys showing up outside of the window rubs the customer the wrong way. It messes up the rest of the move process. Even if you guys do the best job y'all can do, because one thing was off, this customer's mood is just off. Go up and beyond, be there before the time, as long as they're okay with it. No, because I was already in. I went to Charlotte to see the Panthers arena
Uh,
stadium, and yeah, the traffic out there was brutal as well. And I think Raleigh
mhm.
was just up there as well. So they're like, yeah, you could spend an hour or 2 hours in Raleigh's traffic on a busy
Yeah,
day.
yeah. Depending on where you're going. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, so shoot, ain't no comparison. I feel like,
Yeah.
these cities be low key New York City traffic.
No, I don't think we that bad.
But no, so getting back to the theme of the episode. So are you being sold or are you selling? So I know firsthand, from being in the B2B space, we were always calling companies and trying to see if companies were interested in partnering with us. And you get those calls every day. So even as a small moving company myself, it's like, okay, well, hey, we could build your website. We could do this.
Uh-huh.
Or we can we got this new software that's out that we think would be beneficial to your company, you know?
Yeah.
And I've always been intrigued because obviously, as y'all know, with Max Moving Training, I'm always trying to provide the best resources for y'all. I may not necessarily take advantage of it because it may not benefit me in the immediate time, but everybody's at different levels and different stages, and that it would it's so much out information out there and so many moving vendors popping up nowadays that for me, I want to make sure that they're accredited, and I'm not saying, oh, go check the BBB, but
Yeah.
my accreditation is, hey, how many followers do you got on your Facebook?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you been
Well, I'll tell
around
you
for a
what,
while?
man, when I was using man, I was using several of them, and even from, like you said, a validation point, I still got some good leads from some of them, but like you said, you still want to validate and make sure they're good. But I think it's a lot of them just jump into it and they, piggyback off of what they think is already working. And you got to be a little more granular and a little more niche in what you're doing and what you're selecting, because people will reach out and they're like, oh well, we were looking at this price and we're thinking this and we saw this, and it's like, well, they get to me and it's like, nah, it's not quite all of that. Let's go over this again. So
Hmm.
like you said, how many touches is it? How many different people are touching that lead before it gets to you? There was one that was where they would, I guess, if the customer was on the phone, they would hot transfer the customer over to you, so you could talk to them while they're on the phone. So, but it's just, many different points in there before they get to you. that you got to consider, especially if you're talking about validating, that provider.
Mm-hmm. And again, these vendors aren't cheap by any means, in a lot of
Yeah.
cases. And so it's just like if you don't do your homework and then you don't see, like, it's almost like you got to put them on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got. Yeah, I mean, you have to, and then, like you said, you got to go with 2 to 3 months out to even see if if you're making a return.
Mm-hmm. And when you put them on a spreadsheet, for me, what I would say is break your marketing up into subjects. So subjects meaning like SEO. Okay, so I know I have somebody in the SEO column. Direct leads. Who's all my direct leads? Meaning that, you
Hmm.
can use lead providers, you can use postcard marketing, you can use whatever the
Yeah.
case is. And then maybe your referral marketing. Okay, your realtors and whoever else is in your
Hmm.
referral program. And then, you just keep breaking them up into different subjects. And you make sure that, you got somebody hitting those different avenues, including social media marketing as well.
Yep.
And a lot of these vendors you're going to realize a lot of these vendors are doing the same thing.
Same thing. Yep. They
Oh, we
just they
offer you
just putting the red
SEO.
cart. They just putting the red carpet on it, man. That's it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like I said earlier. Yeah, like I was
So
telling you earlier.
so exactly. So now you see all these vendors pop up on your Facebook or your social channel, and they're just like, "Oh, we can get you more
Yeah.
jobs, more fill up your calendar." And it's like, what subject do you fit in? Oh, you fit in SEO? Oh, I already got an SEO partner.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I'll do my research, and if it sounds like you could be good, I'll put you on the pending list. And
Yeah.
whenever I maybe I'm not happy with the current vendor, I'll reach out to you and see what difference and what cost you're going to make for my business.
Yeah.
But you just don't want to get jumbled up, and you got to make sure you stick to your marketing budget. So I did my marketing forecast for this month and in the future months or whatever the case is, and it may say something like, "Oh, maybe you can't spend more than $3,000 on marketing this
Yeah.
month." Number three, make sure your team is in uniform, they're groomed, their hygiene is checked, because that's the worst thing you could do, especially going in a house. Customer could smell your guy from a mile away, and now again, their mood is just thrown off. So make sure that you guys are in uniform, you're tight, you have uniform shirts, it doesn't look like, you have a laborer that's, hired from off the street. Presentation is everything that goes towards your first impression. Number four, introduce both you and your partner when greeting the customer. Don't just go to the door by yourself, while your driver is unloading the truck and introduce yourself. Actually have both of you there. Introduce yourself first, then introduce your partner second, and then, allow them to welcome you into their home.
Yep. So then you would know how to break it up. And whoever's producing the most, then you would say, well, we're going to give them a little more to budget because we know they're performing, and then we'll cut the budget from the other ones. Or like you said, let's rotate out of the worst vendor and let's bring another one in, see how they do. Give them a couple months. Like you said, just scale it, rank it. Rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm. And you just got to make sure that, like, so I was actually about to get set up with the fun Angie's,
Okay.
and they changed their whole system, which is great. And I don't
Yeah.
mind, guys, this is free talk, so I don't care who here. But it was just one of those things, and it's not a not unknown thing that, maybe I think Angie Leeds it was that used to
Yeah.
lock
And
people in for.
Angie, it was Angie Leeds, and I think it's just Angie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it was Angie Leeds that were locking people into a 1 year contract and
Hmm.
all that other stuff. And then, Angie's, I guess, which was Home Advisors or however they named it, they were just being all fancy. Um, they were good. They like you come use your budget. If you don't want to pay for nothing, you stop paying. You just turn off your budget.
Yeah.
But you can
I
only turn
think
it off.
only 30 days. Yeah, it was 30 days you could only turn it
Hmm.
off for, if I remember correctly. So it's like you always said, which is good from a psychological standpoint because you think about it, you probably never turn it back on, if you didn't have that, and then you'd be losing leads. But like I said, they were producing me the best results, and it was only because I was paying the most with them. I felt like it wasn't, but when I looked at
Hmm.
the numbers, they were number one.
Yeah. So now this lead provider happened to combine Home Advisors and Angie, Angie's was
Okay, okay.
their company. Now they combine Angie's leads all into one big,
Hmm.
pool. So
Okay,
now you kind of quote unquote get the best of the best world of
okay.
so now they're still locking you into a 1 year contract.
Oh,
Um, but they have different pricing packages to get you estimated amount of leads. I've
uh-huh.
never liked any company that can guarantee X amount of leads because where are they getting those
Yeah,
leads from?
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, because you know what it takes to get the leads, and so you say, how can you guarantee? Because you can't guarantee anything.
hmm
Yeah,
So, they'll say, oh yeah, on an average, you can probably get about
yeah,
18 leads a month or whatever the case is. So I'm like, well, if you're giving me a range, what if I drop below that range? What if you told me I'm only getting 17 to
yeah,
29 leads a month and then on average it's like 18.
yeah,
And then I drop to like 5 leads that month. Am I still entitled to pay the same amount? Like, because you
yeah.
just told me that the reason why you sold me was because you sold me on the
Get so many
average.
leads. Yeah, and I don't think they have. I don't think they'll ever have a problem with sending leads. Because like sometimes they just send you those dummy leads, so they're going to send you something. So they can be. You're going to get sent something. You're going to reach that number somehow, some way. But yeah, that it's just part of the game. There's no, they're trying to put a finite number on something that you can't really gauge. Even if you
hmm
open up the floodgates, if the market is not right, if the copy is not right, they may not come, like you said. If it is, you might get over flooded. Well, am I still going to get those other ones, that we got over flooded with? How does that process work? So,
And that's the thing. They won't change it from month to month. It's just like
yeah,
how your employees might roll over their work
yeah,
day into the next
mhm,
month. Your leads
yeah.
don't roll over. Your leads stayed what it was.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, like you said, it's just, it really comes down to which company is doing the best marketing, the most niche marketing for you, and then who's delivering those to you the best. So, like I said, it's all in the data and the numbers. The other thing you got to consider too is how quickly are you getting to those leads too, because that's valuable as well. If they're coming in, is it taking you, a minute? Is it taking you 5 minutes? Is it taking an hour? The next day? Because if they're coming into you, you best believe they're going out to somebody else too.
hmm
So, and not just this lead provider, but that means they're looking at other avenues as well. So if they submit their information into one of those little forms, best believe it's getting blasted out. So the quicker you can get back to them, because then that pretty much breaks the process. You got to get to
Yeah.
them as soon as they hit your company, however your funnel. You need to be right here meeting them.
All right, guys, my name is Brandon. I'm with Max Move Management, and here's 11 steps on how to have a perfect move. The first one, the office should call or your dispatcher should call the customer 2 days prior to arrival. The reason for this is just in case the customer has a closing on the house, maybe they weren't able to secure, a babysitter for the child or a pet sitter. You definitely want to call 2 days in advance. This helps the customer be prepared, and you make sure that you as well know that you're going to a customer that's also prepared. Two, the crew should also call the customer prior to arrival to the home. After the guys have already geared up, you got all your equipment in your truck, you got your address punched into your GPS, go ahead and either the driver or the helper, give the customer a call or a quick text, let them know that you're en route to your location and provide them with the ETA. This also sets the expectation for the customer to be back home just in case they would have dropped their kids off to school. For the third one, look to keep the customer happy, break the ice in the beginning. So pretty much this means when you walk up to the house, knock on the door with your best mannerism that your mother taught you or father, you knock on the door, introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm the foreman. This is my helper. And you introduce the team that you have with you.
All right. So that brings me to a new topic. We got a few minutes left, y'all. So that brings me to a new topic. What is your follow-up process when it comes to
Man,
leads? We have, for most of us that's been a student of Lewis Mazzaro, um, we've had the CMET process, the
mm,
3X, the 2+1 CMET process. We've had the 5X or 4X estimated process. But is that effective? Is the
it
question.
is. I think it is. It was for me because that workflow definitely showed how quick a customer could reach out to somebody else if you didn't follow up in time. So when our calls came in early morning, 8 o'clock, we were on it, calling, leaving messages. And what you noticed is if you reached out to the customers later in the day, you got a different response, which was, oh, we're still looking, or we reached out to somebody else, or we found somebody else. So timing is critical when when you need to get to those leads. It's you just got to be the first in line to get to them.
Mm. So what if it was like, and I'm just spitballing out there because I know the process. And just for
Yeah.
those that may not know it, a 2+1 is, hey, you're gonna follow up with a customer immediately as soon as they come in. So if the lead came in this morning,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna follow up with them this morning. Then you're gonna follow up with them again in the afternoon, and then you're gonna follow up with them again tomorrow
Yeah,
morning.
but you got a three. Yeah, but you got that first touch is three different touches. So it's email, phone call, and text message. So you want to make sure that you reach out on those three channels. That first go round. So that's your three. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
you're gonna
It's
definitely
just
leave a voice message.
mhm.
I'm sorry I skimped out on a little bit of information, y'all. So CMET is call, leave a voice message, email, and text.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do it 3 times. So one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one next morning.
Mhm.
And if
Yep.
you still don't aren't able to get a hold
Yeah.
of the customer, you're kind of writing them off at that
Yeah.
point because the lead
Yeah.
is
Because that's
super
nine
cold.
touches. Yeah, that's nine touches within a 24-hour period.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that yeah, nine touches within a 24-hour period. And if you don't get anything from that, then you could best believe it's
Yeah,
just let it
because they're
go.
they're absolutely cold at this point.
Yeah.
But the challenge comes down to if that lead said they weren't moving for 2 months, are we cutting them off too early?
Absolutely not. You want to bring them in and then put them on a campaign. So what I used to do is when we had situations like that, I would always reach out like a month or so before, or whatever 30 days before, just to see if they still needed us to do their moving. It wasn't always a hit, but sometimes we did get some pretty big jobs because we would reach out and they would say, oh yeah. We forgot, blah blah blah, and we didn't reach back out to such and such, or we didn't hear from the other company. So go ahead, we'll go ahead and book with you guys. So that follow up is just key. Even if they said it's 2 3 months out. Matter of fact, I booked a customer that was 6 months out before, 6 or 7 months out, who said, reach back out, we'll think about it. So I just kept following up. I just left them in my funnel and I just followed up, and eventually we won them. And they didn't get tired of me calling. And if they did, they would have told me to stop calling. But every month on schedule, I called every
So
month, and
so I'm
ended up
thinking
winning them.
that method changed from 2+1+1+1. Ha ha.
Hey,
Meaning,
it. I whatever. Hey, what if I don't close you? You're still in the funnel, and I'm still calling. I'm calling until you tell me to stop calling. That's
but
it.
what does your script look like at that point? Because we have the script technically
Yeah.
for the first 2 days and
So
the last day.
yeah. So if you get out that far, it's just a simple follow up. Hey, and it don't have to be anything creative at that point because you're just wanting to create a touch point. Hey, just reaching out. I'm letting you know that the schedule's filling up. So I remember we had a conversation. Here's your original quote. Let me know if anything's changed, and then just leave it at that. And they may respond back. They may not. If you see they open the email, send them a text message later. But they're still in that phase. We've just pushed it out a little bit. So you may have to get a
Well,
little creative.
so not to get it confused with the estimate follow up, because that's kind of like what you led to with the last statement.
Mhm.
Um, what about the unreachables, the people that just, you just haven't been able to get a hold of? Are you cutting them off after the second day, or are you going to continue to try to reach out, being that their move estimated date was 2 months from now?
Well, I mean, you run it up until they tell you to stop. They've done it before where they'll send a stop in a text message. They don't want us to send them a text message, or they'll tell us not to respond to the email. So until you usually get a hard stop or hard no, or that you've kind of gone past your set limit, then you would kind of call it quits. But if the system and the software is doing it, there's no reason not to run it up until they tell you stop reaching out. Because
Mm.
the system should be doing all of that for you.
What y'all think? So definitely share your thoughts on your logic on your follow up process and something that you have a SOP with in your company, and share your thoughts. I'm going to ask about this in our moving company Success Hub on Facebook. So if y'all are not a part of that community yet, definitely join the community where we provide just absolute focus on business development for your moving company. None of that, oh, hey, I need a guy for tomorrow nonsense. Uh,
Man, bro,
so,
that's stressful. I'll be sitting on Facebook now, man. So stressful.
I feel like it's a distraction. You know,
Last minute. I need two guys to unload 7,500 pounds.
I'm
What?
almost to that point where I almost want to just delete all them groups and just focus
Yeah,
on, because it's all the distraction. All you see on your timeline is people looking for help. Everybody laughing at the next person and how they're doing bad, or
yeah,
they could have loaded the truck better if they would have used this professionalism, or and it's just like, geez, stop beating people up because you feel like you're the stuff.
yeah.
So, but anyways, with that being said, yeah, definitely share your feedback on your follow-up process. I know some companies just keep reaching out until the estimated move date has passed. I know there's companies out there like Moversville that'll keep your potential customers and actual clients engaged with your company. And I believe they even expanded their service a little bit more to, I think, targeting realtors or something like that as well.
Okay.
But I feel like a lot of companies are actually going in that direction, which is a good phase. I just don't necessarily, me being a real estate agent, I don't necessarily still get the connection yet, like where, you're going to always advertise that company over this company. But I guess maybe if you get in their ear, they may say, "Oh yeah, I got a mover that can help you move."
Mhm.
Maybe, you know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so but I know it works for me. I have a lot of people that I have to oversee from a real estate standpoint. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, well, hey, if you're going to be moving out or you're going to be moving into one of my dwellings, then why not
Yeah.
offer my moving services?
Hey,
You
it's
know.
right there. Those your two your parallels.
But the thing is, don't sell. I wouldn't sell your own service because they see you, they be like, "Oh, can you give me a discount?" Da 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 da.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah,
know,
of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I would probably say, you know what? Hey, here's my card. Call my office. Let me
Yeah.
let my reps do it. I don't know this person from a hole in the wall. Just sell them.
Yeah. 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 Because you're gonna have two problems. You're gonna have two problems to solve if something don't go right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, but wear the right hat. Be like, oh, you know what? Oh, you had a moving job. You see, I got my real estate hat on today. So let me call you
Yeah.
back when I got my
Yeah.
my moving hat
Yeah.
on.
And then you start to realize that's the more successful you get, the more you want to be in the background. You don't even want people to know who pulling the strings and who's doing stuff, man. So
Hmm.
that's exactly like even in my neighborhood, I know we that time, but even in my neighborhood, when I put my flyers up in the neighbors' yards and stuff like that, I don't even like show my face. I have somebody else do it because I walk around the neighborhood and stuff. So I'm like, man, like I want to market and advertise, but I don't want them to quite know it's me yet,
Hmm.
because I don't want no questions, but yeah, it's all yeah.
Hey, it's just like when we got evictions to handle. Those are the ugliest.
Yeah, you definitely don't want nobody to know you did.
But
What?
hey, it
Well,
happens.
I helped you move, and I gotta help you move out, and this is damn boy.
You be like, damn, you getting kicked out? That's
Yeah,
crazy. And they be like, but you're the one kicking me out.
you kicking
No,
me.
that was when I had my real estate
Yeah,
hat on.
man. Hey, yeah, I don't want none of them problems in my life at all. You hear me? None.
And I think that was one of the reasons why we never did eviction moving.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
like,
because you got to think about it. You probably pay is gonna be crazy. Even the situation is gonna be crazy. You don't
mhm.
know what to expect. Do the police got to be there when you do the?
They
We
have
never
they
dealt with
usually
those.
do, unless
Yeah, I
you're
imagine.
unless you're unless you're moving out on your own recognizance, even though you're being
Hmm.
evicted. But if
Yeah.
the sheriffs have to come and unlock the door,
Uh,
um, then yeah,
yeah,
that's a
I ain't
flight of
trying to be in
force.
that situation.
And I was in it once. I was in it once.
uh,
This major eviction broker called us and said, "Hey, we need you to go here and move this customer stuff to storage for X period of time. If they don't claim it, then
uh,
something." And I'm like, "Well, if they don't claim it, I got to figure out how to get rid of it because I still got to pay for it."
yeah.
So we went to the house and it was like a 9-man 3-truck job apparently. and and we
For
went to
one
their
house?
yeah. So we went to their house. Come to find out, everything was trash. Nothing stackable.
Oh,
Salvageable.
that's weird.
And so I ended up having to call the broker, and I'm like, yeah, there's nothing here for us to move. Took pictures and everything, and then, they gave me a hard time about paying me and everything. Like, oh, like I didn't have to pay for all that labor up front just to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just like, you know
Goodness.
what? I don't think I want to do this.
Do this. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I called it right to pay, right?
hmm So, all right, y'all. So we are at the top of the time. I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. I know we was kind of ranting about a lot of stuff, but this is what it's about. It's like we can keep preaching every day about the same nonsense about ROI, how to do a certain task. But at the end of the day, it's kind of for you to pick through the nitty gritty and figure out, hey, I could try this. Maybe I'll try that. And, make your own path for you and your company and for your well-being because not every job is worth taking.
It's not. It's not.
Figure out how you can get reoccurring revenue. Moving builds the pipeline for everything else and around you. Because it's so much money and it's not that much thinking behind it. Truthfully, we pick it up and we put it down.
Yeah,
Like Arnold
pretty much.
Schwarzenegger. And, so that's why I love the industry. You could do construction, you could do carpentry, you could do all of the other things, but you get the measurement wrong, you got to keep going back to Home Depot. You get this wrong, you got to keep doing this. And it's just like with moving, you get the measurement wrong. Worst case scenario, that sofa's not fitting in the door. It ain't your fault. It wasn't yours to begin
Hey, I
with.
can't get it up there. And trust me, I've paid some thousands of dollars in attempt. So if you can't do it, just don't do it.
So, all right, y'all. Y'all keep crushing it out there. We'll see y'all next week. All right, y'all take care.
All right.